This is Adam Watson.
Levon Baker.
You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. So we just got back from Sasquatch Comic Swap in Eugene, Oregon. That happened today, which is Sunday. This will go up on Monday. So this is the first time you've ever been to a Diller-centric show. This is the third time I've been to Sasquatch. And I've been to a lot of shows that are very similar to Sasquatch. But this is the first one you've been to. So why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts.
I had a blast. It was awesome. I had no issues with any of the people there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't overly crowded. There were those few people that you would say, like, excuse me, while you're walking by. And they would just kind of, like, look at you and just keep going through their boxes. Everyone else seemed pretty cool. I feel like we did pretty good. We found quite a bit of good stuff for ourselves as well, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was awesome. I'd definitely go to another one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I, once again, made quite a bit of profit at the Sasquatch show, which I continue to make profit at the Sasquatch show. Much like the show that happened, I believe it was also in May of last year. I'd have to check my records. It could have been April. It took a while for the majority of the sales to come in. It's kind of a show where you get steady sales throughout the day, but just kind of randomly.
Right.
It was fairly quiet, like the first Sasquatch show I did. But I made a pretty decent amount of profit, and Donna, the owner of it, is talking about having another show in October, so I'm definitely going to get a table for that. And last year in November, the show was packed and full, like, the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, I think because it was closer to Christmas, there were a lot more people who were buying tables to, unload their goods so that they could buy presents. There are a lot more people that are looking for presents for people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That usually happens with shows that are in, like, November. Even late October, people are starting to think about, what they want to get for Christmas.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, if all goes accordingly, that'll be another convention that goes onto the convention list.
Sweet.
So next up is the Frankenstein Comic Book Swap, which is pretty similar to what we experienced at Sasquatch today. It's a little bit bigger. There are more tables, but the type of stuff that's on display to purchase is relatively the same.
Yeah.
Cheap issues for the most part, cheap magazines, things like that. So I think that I did finally purchase all of the comic book journals and interviews that are available at Sasquatch. Last time I did the show, I found 2 boxes full of comic book journals, comic book interviews, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This time I found exactly one, which I didn't even know it existed, but it was like the old Hero magazine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an interview or what, but it's this sort of thing I collect. It was a Hero magazine, comic biographies of working professionals. So I was like, I gotta check that out. And I think I paid like 50 cents for it. So.
Do you collect Hero magazines?
Yes, I do. I collect literally anything that has information on the industry as a whole, or interviews with creators, anything like that. That is my main thing that I collect.
Okay. I do have one Hero magazine, and it's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know
At least
Hero
I'm
was
pretty
still in
sure
existence.
it was a Hero movie.
Are you sure
magazine.
it's Hero and not Wizard?
Yeah, it's not Wizard.
Okay.
Because the majority of it is just interviews with
Could it
people.
be Comic Book Heroes?
It might be.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have that then.
I'll look it up and...
Because Hero magazine stopped publication in the mid-90s. Back in the 90s, Wizard became the big comic pop culture magazine, replacing Amazing Heroes. And all that kind of thing. And Hero magazine, if I remember right, was put out by Beckett, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I need to double check that. But Hero featured a very similar content to Wizard, but Wizard was a lot more smartass.
Right.
With the way they delivered information. Whereas Hero delved a bit deeper into interviews and things like that. So I actually think it was a better magazine in a lot of ways.
It's that one. For some reason I thought it was just straight up Heroes, but...
Yeah, I have no idea what that one is. I've never seen it before.
If you want it, I'll grab it.
Oh, it's a Starlog movie magazine.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it says it right there.
Okay, that explains why the Insight had a bunch of crap about Star Trek, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, it says from the editors of Starlog and Comic Scene.
I think Starlog did do Star Trek, didn't they?
Yeah, so I'm going to assume it's more interviews with movies. Mm-hmm. But there was a good section of Spider-Man stuff that like I didn't know about.
I would still be interested in it.
Yeah, it's something you can have it all. It's sitting on a table in my dad's house in the attic with my other stuff all snagging next to me over there.
Also collect the stuff that's kind of peripherally connected. So,
yeah.
And a lot of times the movie stuff will still have interviews with top creators who've worked on that character and stuff like that. But you know, I collect like Fangoria and Horror Hound and things like that because those have interviews. And sometimes about the comic industry, sometimes it's not. But that doesn't mean I can't get good content that might be applicable to what I'm doing, especially with like the radio shows that I want to do that I'm hoping to get done this year.
Which are going to be freaking sweet.
They are. I need a little bit better production values, though, than what we do for the podcast, since the podcast is literally just us talking into the voice recorder on my phone.
Right.
I want to have these professionally recorded and, you know, do a little bit better audio cleanup than what I can do through Audacity, which is a free program that I use to edit the podcast you're listening to right now. What'd you pick up today?
Oh, God. I think I picked up too much I don't even remember, dude.
Okay. Well, what was your favorite thing you picked up today? How about that?
Okay. Favorite thing. I want to say Fugitoid.
Okay, so you did pick up the Fugitoid graphic
novel?
novel?
I need to crack it open and see if it's an older release or if it's the reprints. Mm-hmm. I know Peter Laird was selling those on his website clear up until they... Honestly, they might still be on there.
Uh-huh.
But that's one that I just never bothered getting.
Right.
Because you could only get it like online or on his website.
Okay.
And his shipping is terrible. They have one staff member that works for Mirage, and they come in like once a month and only fulfill on Mondays.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, last time I ordered books like in high school, it took a good 2 months for them to even get me an email back.
That would kill me.
Oh, man, it was bad because I ordered like 4 or 5 books, right?
Right.
And I think it was the 2 issues of the Casey Jones spin-off series that they did right around the time of Body Count. Mm-hmm. And I got issue 2, and then I got 2 copies of Body Count 1. So I emailed them back, and I was like, hey, you know, sent the wrong book. Could you exchange it? And she's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I sent the double copy back and got another Body Count back.
Oh.
So I never got issue 1. So as cool as the website is, there are some things on there that I would like to get. Like, they had a Fugitoid figure that's vacuum sealed, and it's like metallic, and he'll sign the box too for like $15.
Uh-huh.
So I think if I ever went back on the website, it'd be for that. But I just never felt the need to pick the book up from the website, and I'm lazy about eBay.
Yeah, I'm weird because I make so much money on eBay,
right?
But I don't buy hardly anything on eBay ever.
I'll buy things on eBay if it's something that I absolutely cannot find and want.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like we were talking earlier. I like to find things out in the wild.
About the only time I ever actually shop on eBay is when they send me a coupon. So occasionally, because I've been a member for so long, and probably because I sell so much stuff on there, they'll send me like a $15 eBay Bucks gift certificate that I haven't earned. That's awesome. So it's like, yeah, you gave me $15 for free. I can buy a couple trade paperbacks or whatever with this, right? So of course I'm going to spend this.
Exactly.
But otherwise, I never would. So
yeah, aside from that, I'm just excited about all the obscure stuff that you were throwing my way that I'd never heard of, that I honestly cannot remember all the different titles because there's so many of them.
Not all of it was obscure, but It's Science, I believe, was a slave labor book that I found that I tossed your way. There was quite a bit of obscure stuff, and then there was stuff that's not obscure, but just things you don't know about yet, like Transmetropolitan and Nailbiter. Yeah.
I'm excited to read those because, like I said, I don't have a lot of books that aren't turtles. Right. And I love that stuff, but I've read them all a million times. Right. So it's like, I need new material, especially now that I'm working on comics. Like, I want new stuff to read and see how other people do it. Like, inspecting every little bit of, sequential art and stuff like that. The way that they draw faces.
Yeah, so I don't think I bought a single thing that cost more than $0.25.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fill out my runs of, how do you pronounce that? Archon, I think is what I said earlier.
Arak or...
Arak, something like that. Like Arak. A DC barbarian title that they did back in the 80s, I believe, that looks like it fits in with like the Conan era.
Yeah.
And was written by Roy Thomas, who wrote the best Conan stories. I had a bunch of copies of the series already in my bins, and I pulled one night when I was bored and read it. I liked it. So I decided I wanted to track down the rest of it, but I didn't really want to pay over $0.25 a piece, because with all the cons I do, I knew I was going to find them for $0.25 a piece. And if I had felt like spending the money, I could have bought the whole entire series today. But as is, I think I just filled in about half of the run that I was missing.
Nice.
Which is fine, because like Frankenstein a couple weeks, if I feel like filling in the rest, I'll do it,
Exactly.
Filled out a little bit more of my Dreaming run, which that one was really nice, where I do see Arak at quite a few places quite frequently. Dreaming, I rarely ever find. So it was really nice finding like the, 7 or 8 of those that I picked up.
Yeah, it was just about that.
And both of those titles are not available in graphic novel format.
Yeah.
The Dreaming, there have been, I think, 2 trades released. Arak, there have been none. So single issues are the only way you can go about it. And the trades for the Dreaming are long out of print. So good luck finding them.
Right.
And besides that, let's see, I found that one Heroes like biography magazine, which I got to crack that open and figure out exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Then picked up a few things for the kids. Besides that, I filled in quite a bit of my American Flag run. So I'm trying to get that whole series and read it. And once again, there were like 2 hardcovers or 2 trade paperbacks that were produced. They're hella expensive now, but the single issues you can find for like $0.25 a piece.
Yeah.
I already had damn near the entire thing in my bins, so why not, just fill the rest in if they're $0.25 a piece.
Exactly.
And that is going to be a TV series here pretty soon. So I would really like to finish reading it in comic form prior to watching it as a TV show.
Yeah.
Although I don't know why, because that's just going to make me judge the TV show more. Next up is Frankenstein, and, it's a very similar show to this. Going to be in Portland. And then after that, I believe, is Rustorama.
Nice.
Unless I have something else that I fill in between, which I very well might.
Yeah.
Because Rustorama is still actually quite a ways away. It's not until July.
Okay.
So it's highly likely that I will fill in a show
right.
between now and then with something else.
Exciting.
So, yeah, Rustorama is going to be quite different because it's a car show. So
right.
It's not like anything I've done before. That's pretty exciting.
I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, I think it will be too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So what are the artists up to?
Well, let's see here. Joel just turned in page number 4 of a 7-page story that's going to be a backup tell in Ghost Assassin number 3. It unfortunately didn't make it into the raw editions, but it'll make it into the colored edition. So it'll be in the official release. It tells a bit of David's backstory, but is really delving into the story of a bad guy who hasn't quite been introduced yet.
Yeah.
And by bad guy, I mean a worse guy than David. How about that? Because David's a bad guy, too.
Yeah.
After all, he does kill people for money, as one reviewer had to point out.
4.5 stars.
Yes, that would be the review.
I can get that to an extent, because that's like the stupidest reason to
If you looked at the guy's biography, all the books on it, his favorite books listed were Ultimate Spider-Man, Donald Duck Adventures, Uncle Scrooge Adventures, I think Mickey Mouse Adventures, and Star Wars. And so...
That's quite an interesting combination.
Yeah, the whole thing is that somebody who really isn't going to get my work as well.
Right.
As someone who, I mean, like, hey, he still liked it enough to give it 4.5 stars. But it doesn't surprise me. And what we're talking about was way back in the day, there was a guy who had reviewed the book when it was just Ghost Assassin Prelude, so the original 10-page story, who had stated he would have been able to give it the extra half a star, except for the fact that David was a hitman. And since he killed people, it couldn't be a 5-star book, since he was not a hero. Which is in the title. The book's called Ghost Assassin.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Right? It was very ridiculous, but it was also pretty funny.
Yeah.
And just kind of taught me, like, the value in making sure you find reviewers who are actually interested in the type of material you published. I mean, at the end of the day, it was still a 4.5-star review. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not so vain as to think that I need 5 stars on everything or anything like that, but...
Yeah, no reason to complain.
Oh, no. No reason to complain about 4.5 stars whatsoever. But one quick look through his log, and I could see exactly the type of books that he was into, so I probably should have vetted that a little bit more before sending it out. But yeah, it was probably the funniest reason I've ever been taken like a half a star down.
Yeah.
On a review.
Go down in history.
In my history, at least.
Yeah.
It's funny though, I can't even find that website anymore.
Really?
There's an internet archive, but I don't think that came into existence until well after that. I think that's a newer thing. I could be wrong.
Is it like the...
It basically like saves snapshots of
thing,
websites.
Right? Yeah. You can pull it back to certain dates.
Yes, and I know the Darkslinger site itself only goes back so far when I've looked at it on there. So wherever that review is, it's lost to time now because I don't think that website exists anymore. But
that's awesome. Would have been great if you screenshotted it though.
Yeah. I've had actually better reasons that people have knocked off stars on ratings before though.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy who reviewed Chronicles of Von Helsing #1 and Chronicles of Von Helsing #1. All the vampires are dressed like cowboys, right?
Right.
And one of them is named Scott. And he had to take it down a star in the review because he couldn't imagine that there were ever any cowboys named Scott.
Really?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Right?
That's insane.
Yeah. It's insane for a lot of reasons. Number one, because I'm pretty sure that there were people in the Wild West named Scott. Number two, because they're vampires, so like them having names from other countries and then coming over to a new area, which by the way, I never state they're in America. Yeah. They're in cowboy gear, but it's never stated they're in America. They are, but that's just kind of an assumption he was making. Yeah. So I'm pretty positive that the name Scott existed in America prior to the Wild West.
That would make sense.
Yeah. But he couldn't grasp that. Like, this guy's named Scott, I can't deal with that, I gotta take a star down. Oh my god. Scott seems like such a weird name for, But he also put in his review that he thought Chronicles of Von Helsing was going to be more like the Hugh Jackman Von Helsing movie. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And why? Right? Why would have I made it like a movie that exists instead of having it be something that's based off of the original Von Helsing to some degree? Right. So
make it a little more unique.
Yes, but there are an amazing amount of people that I run into at conventions who know the name Von Helsing from the Hugh Jackman movie and have no clue at all what Bram Stoker's Dracula is.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really weird, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, because they'll ask me, if I have permission from Fox or whoever owns the rights to that movie, I don't even know. Yeah. To be featuring it in my comics. And I'm like, well, number one, this has nothing to do with that. I personally don't view that as a good movie. I thought it was one of the shittiest vampire movies ever made. Agreed. And definitely one of the biggest wastes of Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale that I've ever seen. Yeah. But I tell them that in addition to that, this is something that's loosely based from the root material, much like that movie is. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Well, it's the name Von Helsing comes from Bram Stoker's Dracula. What's that? I would think even if they weren't familiar with the book, they would know the movie that came out in 94? 93? Something like that? It was
93, I think.
Yeah. I would think they'd be familiar with that, or any of the thousands of other movies that have been made about Dracula that have a vampire slayer in them named Von Helsing. But no, there are a lot of people at conventions. I will state these are Comic Cons, though, not horror cons.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that at a horror con, which makes far more sense.
That does make sense, because, I mean, maybe people that aren't into vampires wouldn't know that unless they've, you know, seen, like, an older Dracula movie. But Hugh Jackman is a big name, so when that came out, I'm sure they probably just flocked to the movie just to see it because of, you know...
Yeah, and it was directed by, what's his name, Steven Soderbergh, who did the Mummy movies.
Right.
And I think that was the first non-Mummy movie he had done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking awful movie, though. Just awful.
Yeah.
In any case, our podcast is not about knocking on bad movies that Hugh Jackman starred in. It's about comics. So let's get back to that and continue talking about what the artists are up to this week.
Sounds good.
Got you working on a t-shirt design that we touched on last weekend. Last weekend when Robert and I talked on the last podcast. And he had some concerns about jumping into the political arena. But I think I answered that pretty well. Go ahead and give your perspective on it, because I've already told you about that.
Yeah. My perspective of it is that it may piss off Trump supporters.
Okay.
But I also feel like it could appeal to them.
I think it could too.
Yeah.
I think it could.
It's not necessarily bashing Trump.
It's not bashing anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole thing, is I could actually see it appealing to both sides and moderates.
Right.
Like, I could be very wrong, though. Who knows? Maybe, like, the one side we think isn't going to get pissed off gets pissed off. And, like, I don't belong to any political affiliated group.
Same.
So maybe I'm out of touch with what pisses people off and what doesn't. But
that's a very good point. No, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and whether people like it or not.
Well, that's the whole point. We're not doing this for any political reasons. We're doing it for fun.
It'll be interesting to see what the outcome is, honestly. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
Might just be totally ignored.
Exactly. They might be like, oh, huh, funny.
Right.
Or you could have that guy that comes up, oh my god, that's hilarious. I need like 6 of them for everybody.
Oh god. So the annoying guy?
Yep.
Well, hey, his money spends. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're inching closer to starting Inspiratu. So you getting pretty excited for that?
I am pumped.
You feeling like you're ready for it?
I feel like I'm ready. I've been doing a lot more practicing for backgrounds and stuff like that, trying to do still life, working on castles, because as we've talked about before, that's one of my weaknesses, is like buildings and nature.
Right.
But I was sketching in my sketchbook at work the other night, and I feel like I'm getting better.
Yeah. I
feel like the looser that I sketch it, the better it comes out.
That makes sense.
Which then in the end I can just tighten it up.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't remember who it was that I was talking to, but I was telling him, like, I finally feel like I've reached that point in my life where I have a meaning for doing something. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said before, this is what I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And now it's feeling like I'm finally getting to that point. I'm just freaking pumped. It's like, it's always on my mind. I'm always doodling in my sketch pads.
That's great
to
hear.
Yeah, I am so excited.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is an El Bovine Muerte story.
Right.
And that introduces Inspiratu, going to be short. I don't think we're going to need more than 4 to 6 pages to tell it.
Simple enough.
But El Bovine Muerte is a long-running webcomic at this point. I had a couple of artists, is there any intimidation factor in that for you? Anything like that?
Yeah, I am a little scared to draw the characters and have them come out funky.
Okay.
I feel like if I try really hard and sit there and work on the character, like just one specific little design, like especially with the t-shirt, when I sat there and drew Lemime in like the first pose and just went to town, spending like 45 minutes on one simple, like not even 4 inches tall on a piece of paper,
right?
Just that one design, I felt like it turned out really good. So I'm a little intimidated that it's not going to appeal to people because I'm not the original artist, so it might look a little off. But
well, at this point, no one knows who the original artist on Levon Morte even was. So
yeah, well, I mean more like the I should say current artist.
Right, you're
better
meaning more of the stuff that's still published and on the website.
Right, I don't want to like ruin that and make it look like shit.
Well, I won't let you.
Yeah.
So
no, and I appreciate that because I want it to look as good as it can so that it does appeal to those people.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm personally a fan and I wouldn't want to mess it up and then feel guilty for messing up something that I enjoy.
That makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it because, I'm going to be there to mentor you and tell you to correct something 200 times if need be. So.
Yeah. And I feel like I may need you to see if you can find files with like individual character designs. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you said that you had those or not.
I do.
Okay, because just the way that the panels generally, it seems like they cut off at the waist.
A lot of the times.
On a lot of them.
Yes.
And scrolling through the computer or on my phone made it a little difficult to do it.
Okay.
I mean, I've got some good references, but I would like to have a little bit of a more clear picture so I can just look at it.
Right, that makes sense to me.
Dissect
any
it
of the characters
sure right.
that will be featured, and I'll give you full refs.
Awesome.
That's no problem at all.
Yeah.
I have pages, specific pages, bookmarked that are like this page shows a really good clear shot of Bethany. This one shows a really good clear shot of Mime. This one is a really good clear shot of the General, so on and so forth.
Perfect.
That being said, I think this story will probably only feature Inspiratu, Mime, and Mime soldiers.
Right.
So, and all the soldiers, for the most part, kind of follow a generic template of about 3 different guys.
Yeah.
So...
Simple enough.
Which is by design. You
right.
know, they're supposed to look generic.
Yeah.
Because they're basically Mime stormtroopers, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can give you good, detailed, full body shots of all of those characters.
Sweet.
That's no problem at all.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to cut this podcast a little short tonight. We both need to get some sleep pretty badly. We're running off about 20 minutes of sleep in the last 48 hours. So... we have con fatigue at the moment very badly. But we'll be back next week with a full-length episode. And coming up this month, we will be featuring an interview with Sam Quinton. He's going to return to the podcast for an interview. We're going to be discussing his new Kickstarter. So,
nice.
Looking forward to that. We'll have some more con announcements, more book announcements, and we'll have some updates regarding how we're coming along with the El Bovine Morte Inspiratu story.
Sounds good to me.
So, for this week's Darkslinger Mafia podcast, I'm Adam Watson.
Levon Baker.
Thank you for listening.